Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kerrioth, and today we are going to talk about Battlefield 1 again. I know I've already done that mini review, which by the way you should watch if you haven't already, and there's been a gameplay video on the channel, but this is more of a discussion, this is more of a question, an open-ended musing if you like, and it's focused around, not complaints, I'm not going to call them complaints, I guess it's more focused around a kind of a puzzlement that has for some reason sprung up around Battlefield 1, which I do not remember seeing around other Battlefield games. So, I played very briefly Battlefield 2142, I played Bad Company 2 a hell of a lot, I played Battlefield 3 a lot, and Battlefield 4 nowhere near as much as 3 and Bad Company 2. Hardline I skipped because I wasn't a massive fan when I played the beta, and the setting didn't really appeal to me. Now of course, we're on to Battlefield 1, the open beta is going strong, and it is really, really enjoyable. But there's a weird kind of questioning by people that I've just never seen before in the context of the Battlefield series, and the question seems to be, why is it not more realistic? There seems to be this general attitude that, off a lot of people, that Battlefield 1, it's not kind of genuine enough, it's not real enough, it's not accurate enough. You know, it's supposed to be set in World War 1, and yet we've got automatic weapons everywhere, the tanks are really good, and it's not like the accurate representation that people want. Not all people, obviously, but there is a fairly vocal minority that are talking about it. And it's puzzling to me because I didn't go into Battlefield 1 expecting a realistic World War 1 experience. I mean, if you want a realistic World War 1 experience, look at something like Verdun. The same thing with modern warfare, not Call of Duty Modern Warfare, warfare in modern times. You don't play Battlefield 4 if you want realistic depictions of modern war zones. Play something like Arma 3. So, for this kind of this questioning of realism and accuracy and sort of genuine depiction to come up around Battlefield 1 is really odd, because Battlefield has never been about realism. It really hasn't. If you've played the series for any length of time, or any recent entry into the series at the very least, it's absolutely not a proper depiction of war. I mean, EA, DICE and all the rest of the community make a big fuss about the fact that crazy stuff happens in Battlefield. There are countless videos of people jumping out of jets, sniping the pilot of a different jet, and then landing in their jet and flying away. You've got mental stuff where tanks are just shooting planes out of the sky as they ramp off stuff. Jeeps loaded with C4 kind of piling into people and exploding. All very fun, all very funny, all very interesting, all really satisfying to do. But that's not realism. And like every Battlefield game, you've got, like, take the support class for instance. Battlefield 1, I much prefer playing the support class. I like being able to give people more ammo. Not least because it means I have an infinite supply of anti-tank grenades. Because you can throw it, then you throw down your ammo pack, then you pick up a grenade from your ammo pack, and then you throw it, and then you throw down your ammo pack. You can see where I'm going with this. It just keeps going and going and going, and you can do that for other people. Medics can just chuck a pack on the floor, and you are magically healed by standing on it. But it's been like that for the last God knows how many versions of the Battlefield franchise. That stuff is a constant. People being able to revive you is a constant. I mean, at least in Battlefield 3 and 4 and Bad Company, whatever, there was actual shock pads. You know, like the things they use in I can't remember what they're called. Defibrillators. At least they had those. You know, electrocute someone, stick them on the chest, boom, you're back to life. I mean, it's still stupid. It still makes no sense, and I believe that's not what they're for anyway. I don't think they're even designed to make a heart start again. I thought they were for evening the rhythm of a heart out, as if the heart is like beating very unevenly, I think. Regardless, that's not how they work. They don't magically bring people back from the dead when you use them on someone's fully clothed body in the middle of a war zone. That's not what a defibrillator is for. But it's accepted, it's fine, that's just what the medic does. He's a support class, he can bring you back from the dead. Except that's not real. So why isn't it a complaint for Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Bad Company 2? Why was it not a problem then? I mean, I'm not saying that specifically is an issue now, but if you're going to complain about realism, if you're going to say this is not genuine enough, then saying that the tanks are too good seems like the minorest of issues. The tanks are very good, by the way, in Battlefield 1. If you've watched the other video I put up today, then you'll see the land ship is an absolute animal. got a decent coordinated team in it, and you can just wreck the map, which is really fun. But it's not accurate. But then again, if it was accurate, you wouldn't even use it in the context that you see in that video anyway. The landship was designed primarily for breaching trenches. It was to get over trenches. It was to get into the enemy lines. That's what it was for. That's the way. That's why it's shaped the way it is. The way it was designed, the way it was. It's a god-awful design when you look at it. Yeah, it can cross trenches, and that's about it. The conditions inside are so god-awful that they couldn't even stick a squad of 8 people in the first one because it made them too ill. They were not good vehicles. Yeah, in Battlefield 1, they are quite good. They're slow, but they've got a lot of firepower, and they can wreck shop. Same thing with the FT-17. It's a great little tank to drive in the game. It was not great, actually, in the real war. But then, the real war is never what Battlefield has been about. Battlefield has never been about true representations of the areas in which it's set. Battlefield has never been about, like, proper attention to detail in terms of how things work. And that's the reason it's so successful. Like, if you look at games like Verdun and, I don't know, like Rising Storm, like Arma 3, they have their audiences, yeah, but they do not have audiences anywhere near the scale that Battlefield has audiences. And that's because Battlefield sacrifices accuracy and realism and genuine depictions for a more arcadey, a more casual, more fun experience. But that's what makes the games what they are. For instance, in Battlefield 1, I had an entire game spent in the FT-17 flanker. I didn't die. I killed everything. I was an absolute unstoppable monster. If it was anything close to realism, the first anti-tank grenade sent my way would have blown the tracks off and I would have been fucked. Would that make for a good game though? Would that make for satisfying gameplay on my end? I've spawned in the tank, I drive towards the enemy, I'm immediately immobilised, the tank's useless. Does that sound like fun to you? If it does, great, because there are games out there that will do that for you. But Battlefield is not one of those games. And Battlefield has never been one of those games. And Battlefield was never going to change from this kind of arcadey, just standard-ish first-person shooter experience to some kind of realistic experience just because the setting changed. There have been complaints about the guns, how everyone seems to have an automatic weapon and how actually, you know, most people have bolt action, they had not automatic guns, and it was all about trench warfare. That's true. I mean, we don't know what the maps we're going to get, but Sonai is not... It's not trench warfare. It's a little town in the middle of a desert with a railroad running through it that a giant armoured train comes along if your team is losing too badly to the enemy team. Now, admittedly, in real life, I don't believe there's any such thing as giant armoured trains because all they need to do is blow the tracks up and your giant armoured train is effectively useless. But it's a spectacle. When you see it coming, it's like, oh my god, what the hell is that? Jesus Christ. And you run for cover because the giant armoured train is something to fear. That makes it fun. That makes it interesting. That makes it... It makes it an experience. And the thing is that is what Battlefield is. Battlefield has never been a simulation. It's never been an accurate look at war. It's always just been an experience. It's always been stupid. It's always been over the top. And I don't think Battlefield 1 deserves to be the one out of the entire series that people look down on or say that they've failed because they haven't gone real with it. Because it's not doing anything differently that the other Battlefields have done. Now, if you wanted to say that you hoped that they would do something different, that's another argument, and I'd agree with that. But singling out Battlefield 1 as not living up to expectations because it's not the simulator that you feel it should be, when none of the others have been a simulator either, is unfair. By all means, call them out for not creating, basically just re-releasing old Battlefields with a new skin and different weapons, because that is kind of what it is, let's be honest. It doesn't stop it being fun, but that is kind of what it is. But don't call them out for it not being realistic when none of the others are. Battlefield 1 is still fun, but it was never going to be that genuine depiction. It was always going to be that arcadey, fun style of game, because that's what the series is all about. But the question is, what do you think about that? Do you think they should have gone the route of more realism? Are you disappointed because they didn't? Do you think that the Battlefield franchise isn't actually being refreshed by this after all, and that they did need to change direction for it to draw you back in? Or do you think it's perfectly fine, and it might not be the realism engine that you wanted, but it's still a good game and good fun? Let me know in the comments, because I'd be interested to see what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.